Today we've got a Queen song war, body language versus scandal. We'll be hearing the tracks and picking our winners and asking you to cast your vote too. And then we'll find out which one will take the crown. Hey, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Joe, or JSB, and I run the place, so you're always stuck with me. Today, though, for the very first time, I am joined by longtime friend of the channel, Bostart, to talk and listen to some slightly obscure 80s Queen. Welcome, my friend. Great to have you here.
Hello, nice to be going live. Well, live-ish for the first time.
Yeah, it's only the first time that well, you see my face plenty of times, but we've never actually met until tonight. So it's very exciting. All right. So for those of you who are new to these parts, this particular episode is going to be part of two ongoing series on the channel. One is the Song War, where we play two tracks and pick a winner. The other is, especially for the year that we're in, 2025, songs that reached number 25 in the charts, as these two both did in the UK. Though both start, maybe that's the only thing they have in common.
We shall see.
All right. So we are going to be coming at these songs from two quite different perspectives. I think it's fair to say that my colleague here is a proper Queen devotee, whereas I'm more of the casual fan. So I know most of the hits, but not these ones. So today will be, as far as I know, my first time hearing either of them. So to you out there, it doesn't matter where you sit on that spectrum. All experiences and views are very welcome. So in the comments, you can let us know your thoughts on each of these tunes as we go along. And of course, drop your winner at the end. That said, the main YouTube video won't have the music in it due to potential copyright issues, but there will be a link in the description or comments or both for you to click on if you want or need to hear the songs with us. So let's start with body language. We will talk a lot more about the song in a moment, but first, let's listen to it. So if you can all smash that like button, thank you. We will hopefully enjoy my first time listening to Queen's body language. Now, alrighty then. Okay, body language. I know what some of my thoughts are, but Bostart, do you want to fill us in on some facts about that track and what you think of it?
I will. I'll start with the facts. One fact I will start with: I wouldn't call myself a Queen devotee. I do have all their studio albums up there, apart from Flash, which I don't count. Flash Gordon, but no, I obviously I heard Greatest Hits. It wasn't Greatest Hits one in those days. It was just Greatest Hits when I was about 14. I absolutely loved it, and over the years, I've managed to get it all. But often the singles are better than the albums. That what you've just heard isn't exactly a classic example of that. I'll give you a bit on the history of that song. It's on the album Hot Space, which the best known track on there is easily Under Pressure, which is the collaboration with David Bowie. But Hot Space was like the Queen Goes Dance album, and I think it's generally viewed as their least good. And
Yeah, I think it's probably viewed as one of the worst albums by any major band in history, from what I know, and I've spent most of my life cleverly avoiding it until now.
well, if you get the Queen Live at the Bowl album or DVD, which I before you get Hot Space, which I did, you can hear some of the other songs from there sounding really great next to the classics. And anyway, that was the second single from the album, and it only, as Joe said, peaked at number 25, which it was pretty rare back then for a Queen single to miss the top 20, and it was even rarer for a song Freddie Mercury had written to miss the top 20. The only one that happened with before was the live version of Love of My Life. And as for body language itself, all I'll say is it's got a really great bass groove, although you may be surprised to know that doesn't come from John Deacon. It's Freddie playing a synth bass. It's a nice
Right.
list. But
So there's no John Deacon and there's barely any Brian May at all. So it's mini Queen.
you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say Brian May might as well have stayed at home for all the space he got there. Because it's got a good groove, but that's all it is really. It's a good groove, and the lyrics repetitive. And
Yeah.
although
Have you seen the Notorious music video for this one?
I have not, I get the
I
impression
gather it's full of lots of naked bodies swirling around and was deemed a little bit unsuitable for MTV in its early days. So, uh, not the first time there was nudity in a Queen video, of course, but hey, bicycle race. But yeah, for me, I mean, I know they say that this was kind of a direct result of the success of Another One Bites the Dust, but I love Another One Bites the Dust, and I pretty much hated that. Not going to lie, because I never do. It really, it had a groove, but was it a song? I don't know that I'd go as far as calling that one a song.
It
um,
was in chart 6 weeks or so.
yeah, and it actually was a pretty decent hit in America, surprisingly. It went to number 11 there. It was pretty much one of their last hits, because they, of course, fell off a cliff in the States in the 80s. Uh, and clearly not for the same reasons that you might think listening to this song, because that did quite well. But I it's not, well, let's put it this way. In order for this to win, Scandal is going to be pretty awful to stand a remote chance of losing. So let's move on to that and hear a song that did receive some positive press when it was released, although I'm slightly worried because Kerrang magazine said that it was such an unprecedented turd of a song that it's not really worth going on about. And Roger Taylor called the video one of the most boring they ever made, which might just mean that there was no nudity in it. I don't know. But either way, we're not going to be watching the video, but we are hearing the song. And we're doing that now. Spotify doesn't know the lyrics for either of these songs, as it turns out, so I'll just have to listen properly. It's a shame. Well, thank goodness for that. Not to give anything away, obviously. All right. Scandal. That was more of the traditional Queen sound on that one. Uh, Thoughts and or facts in whatever order you'd like to give them to me.
Right, well, if Queen hadn't decided to share all the writing credits equally from the 1989 album The Miracle onwards, which that's taken from, then that one would have been credited to Brian May. And I was surprised when I read that because it's so, poppy and it's quite lightweight compared to other Brian May stuff. I thought it was a John Deacon number.
Oh, really?
But no, it's Brian, and it's inspired, you probably read this, by the press response at the time to the breakup of his first marriage and his then burgeoning relationship with the actress, or sorry, I was supposed to say actor nowadays, Anita Dobson, who, of course, at the time was best known for her role as Angie Watts in EastEnders. And she's been in one of our favourite programmes more recently, but we won't drown you in a flood of trivia about that now.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, we're also big Doctor Who geeks, I'm afraid. So we'll skirt around that issue, as you said. Carry on with talking about Queen.
I will. The other thing the press was starting to talk about a lot at the time was, for reasons we now know, Freddie Mercury's health. And we know now why they'd decided that they weren't going to tour that album or any other albums that came out after that. And Freddie, of course, at the time was just saying, I'm tired of the constant tour album cycle. But, the press knew even if people weren't telling them. And it also surprised me that what you think are stabs at the synthesizer are actually our guitar notes. But yeah, it's nowhere, as Joe said, it's nowhere near as rocky as anything else they'd put out before. And even The Invisible Man, which was a single that came immediately before, it wasn't exactly rock, but it had a Michael Jackson sort of groove that you could get into. And it's noteworthy that neither of those two songs we've heard ended up on any of the Queen Greatest Hits trilogy.
Yeah, which is, of course, why I hadn't heard them. So,
well, I think they did both end up on the deep cuts, but yeah, that's the only one of the Miracle singles not to get that treatment.
and well, I'll chip in with my thoughts on the first listen, and I enjoyed that one quite a bit. I mean, maybe it's just because after Body Language I would have enjoyed anything, but that seemed to be, The Miracle is not generally regarded as peak Queen, but it's a respectable effort overall. And aside from that Kerrang chap saying that it was a turd, I don't really agree with that. I think that was a really solid song, proper Brian guitar solo in there, and a properly impassioned Freddie vocal as well. I think the band actually all sounded great on that. And it's got a bit of depth to the lyrics, whereas Body Language had no depth whatsoever. So I also wonder, I don't know how you feel, Bostart, but do you think this should have been left off, say Greatest Hits 2, or if you had to leave off one of the other singles in its place, what would you do there, do you think?
I'd have to listen to the album again to decide if any of the others. Actually, no. I think of the other songs on there, I don't think any were really single material that weren't released. Possibly "Rain Must Fall," but the others are sort of either medleys or framing pieces mostly. And I heard that when it came out. I was what, almost 16, and the only Queen I really knew was on the first greatest hits. And I'd loved I Want It All, and I'd enjoyed Breakthrough, and I'd had a laugh at Invisible Man. But when Scandal came out, I just thought, this is lightweight. No wonder it's not being a big hit. And it was only later I found it only spent 4 weeks on the chart.
Wow. And unlike, of course, Body Language, it did nothing at all in America because, well, practically nothing did at this point. I think I Want It All made number 50, and that was about it for this album in the States. So when I was growing up, we also already had the first greatest hits album, because of course that was the only one at that point. And so this album came out when I was about 9, and I saw stuff on the TV about it, and it was quite exciting because it was a band I knew coming out with something new, and I loved I Want It All. And then that was pretty much the only thing we heard in New Zealand at the time, until after Freddie died, when suddenly you heard, if it was on either greatest hits volume, then you heard them all pretty much. So obviously this one got left off, and I wonder, based on the singles I know from this album, I think I would have put this on greatest hits and maybe left the title track off. Don't know,
Well, I
but
like Miracle. It's really Beatly.
yeah, and it had a cool video as well with the mini me's.
Yes, that's true.
We're not talking about that song. We're talking about these two. And now the crunch time comes, and it's probably not very much crunch at all. But everyone at home, of course, might have different opinions from us. Well, to be honest, we don't know if we have the same opinion yet, to be fair. But whether you are a Body Language truther or Scandal rocks your world, let us know in the comments which of these is your favourite. And yes, you do have to pick one, even if you want to say, I don't like either of them. Um, but I'm going to turn it over to my guests to make the first official vote on the choice today. So, what are you going to give the nod to, Bostart?
All things weighed up, it's got to be Scandal.
Is it even close for you, or a runaway winner, even if you're not a huge fan of the song itself?
I have to admit, I had to think about it because Body Language would probably be my first one to listen to on the basis of that bass line alone, repetitive as it is. But no, I applied the sort of voting we're being encouraged to elsewhere and thought, never mind what's my favourite, what's the best, which isn't usually an easy call for me because usually something's my favourite because I happen to think it's the best. And
Well, I mean, I don't hold truck with that point. Well, I do hold truck with that point of view. Um, but uh, on this channel, we just go by what we feel because that's the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, anyone can tell you what's better, but it doesn't mean that that's what computes with your own brain and view of the world. So on that basis, though, my vote is also, no surprise, I fear, going to Scandal. Basically, it could have been, I'm trying to think what's my least favorite Queen song. I know Body Language is slightly better than Don't Try Suicide, but that's probably about it. So basically, whatever wasn't Body Language was going to win. But I did really enjoy Scandal. I'm kind of sad that it's not on the greatest hits because there's tracks on there that I would prefer to lose. Friends Will Be Friends is one that I could lose in favour of Scandal. There we go. But yeah, Scandal is by joint acclaim our winner. But you can agree or disagree with us, and please do. We want to know what you think. But thank you to Bostart again for joining me to discuss all of that. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, if you've got any suggestions for other battles or wars, as I like to call them, that we should be doing, then let us know that in the comments as well. Just quickly before we go, should either of these songs have done better than number 25, or were they actually lucky to do as well as they did?
I think 25 was funny. I'm being paradoxical here. I think 25 was too good for Scandal on the basis of just the sound, but I think Body Language was okay to get to number 25 for the bass line alone, but it's no surprise that it dropped from there. There is one other song on Hot Space that did make the top 20 and the third greatest hits album, and that's Las Palabras de Amor, if you know it.
Well, very well said. And no, I don't know that one either. So maybe that's one I should get to another time, possibly pair with something else. But that's all we'll be hearing today. However, I do have other Queenie stuff up on the channel already, which is, I'd normally say floating around my head, but because of a Zoom call, they might be somewhere in the middle over there. I don't know. There'll be links and you can click on them and watch them. And they'll be about other things that you might want to watch and be interested in. Until then, I will just say thank you to Bostart for joining me. Thanks to you for watching, and bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.